John Boehner just made what could be his last deal as House Speaker, a 2-year budget agreement that will avert another shutdown. It'll raise the debt ceiling and put in place a spending plan. But Paul Ryan, the guy who's likely to replace him, as I said, was not too thrilled with it.
I'm reserving judgment on this agreement because I, quite frankly, haven't seen it yet. I want to see what it looks like on paper. But about the process, I can say this. I think this process stinks. This is not the way to do the people's business. And under new management, we are not going to do the people's business this way.
Does that mean he's the next speaker? Does that mean he's really upset with it? Is this Boehner-Ryan disagreement really all staged for political reasons? Listen, they avert the shutdown. If you're Ryan, I would say clean this up before I walk in so I don't have to deal with it. It certainly looks coordinated. It's not like, you know, Boehner, like, please, Ryan, take my job. Like, take my wife, please, you know, take this job, please. This thing was coordinated. Come on, right?
Well, I mean, look, it's really smart politics for both of them. And I think, you know, honestly, it really shows what kind of guy Boehner is, that he's willing to say, you know what, I'm going to go in, I'm going to take the heat for this. And it allows Ryan to come in unencumbered. There's a 2-year deal in place that, frankly, is really pretty good deal. And you know what? He can come in and say, I didn't like the process. I had nothing to do with it. Let's all work together, and it's a clean slate, and hopefully they can move forward on a better level.
But does this mean that now Ryan, talking about the process, and I get why he did it, and I agree with Jessica, very smart move, but that he's going to have to open the door here to the Freedom Caucus to have a greater voice in all this stuff? Because their play has always been, okay, you go ahead, you can tell the White House you got a deal here, Boehner. Guess what? We're staging a coup. We're not going along with it. You don't have the votes here, and he's got to come back here and say, I have no idea what to do. Is Ryan's play now? I mean, he had two options as I saw it. One is, you guys get out of line at all here, you're on your own, because we're gonna do everything we can, even work with the Democrats to crush you guys. Or I'll open the doors, I'll let you guys have a seat at the table, I'll let your opinions be heard, but once I go in front of the cameras, we stand as one. It's not shades of gray. There's two clearly different approaches.
I think the door is open to the Freedom Caucus with Ryan, even with this deal in place. I mean, their voice has to be heard, and I think he's going to respect that. Now, granted, their two biggest weapons are going to be taken away by this deal, the budget and the debt limit. So there's no threat of a shutdown. There's no threat of us, you know, going over the max on our credit cards. So with those two things out of the way, they have fewer weapons in order to try to annoy him. But they certainly will. And that's, I think you're hearing some of that in what you're hearing from Ryan about the process, because that's one of their big beefs also, is that somehow the process is unfair to conservatives. So they're already getting a little victory in this.
I've heard a lot of angry voices on this one, Dom, from the right today, mostly on the conservative, either media side or even some of the electeds. Seen a lot of leaders come and go, whether it be out of City Hall or out of the Capitol District. I just don't know that you can ever win one of these fights unless you're willing to be bad cop here and play the fear card as much as anything else. I think Boehner tried. Either he didn't have the stick or he didn't have enough people that were willing to go to the wall with him or not. I just don't know, and I hope for Ryan's sake he can. He can get these guys in order without, you know, excising a little bit of punishment if they don't go along to get along. Right now it seems that they're trying to keep these guys in the loop here. I just don't think he can.
First of all, if Ryan tries to punish them, it only empowers these lawmakers in their own districts. So that would backfire. As Jessica said, this is a win. I believe my interpretation of what she said, this is a win-win for the outgoing speaker and the incoming speaker. It buys him 2 years. You can push it and say, listen, Ryan can say, you know, it was Boehner's deal. You know, I had nothing to do with this. It is a win-win, and it won't hurt the party in terms of the election. Because if this would have went down any other way, it could have hurt the Republican candidates for president. So they bought themselves some time, and it's a win-win across the board.
You think it's 100% that Ryan takes the gig?
I do, yeah. I mean, the vote's going to happen on Wednesday. As far as I know, it's a done deal. And, you know, Paul Ryan is a bona fide conservative. He's got the chops.
No doubt.
So I think if anyone can bring everyone together, it is him. He's got great relationships within a lot of with a lot of members in the various caucuses. So, you know, look, I have high hopes. You never know, but I think we should be optimistic about it.
It was interesting in that 60 Minutes interview with Biden. He spoke very highly of Ryan, saying that, and other leadership within the Democrats say he's an adult here, we can deal with him. Do you think privately he's like, oh, that's a kiss of death. I got to go back to the caucus. And like, why is the White House speaking well of you? Is it that toxic where so much as you get a conciliatory award is that we can work with the person that's considered treasonous nowadays?
Well, to some degree, because for certain members, it's good politics for them to go back in their districts where Obama is very unpopular and they get to, stamp the pitchfork. But look, the sign of a good deal is everyone's, no one's completely happy. Everyone's a little upset. They didn't get everything they wanted. I think there's definitely room for debate and conversation about some more wholesale changes. But for the ones that aren't happy with it, I would say work extra hard to elect a Republican president, because that's where you're really going to see the reforms that they want.
One last point. We're still 17, 18 months away from this, but if Republicans lose seat in the 2016 elections in the House, and I think they will, that actually increases the power of this caucus, the Freedom Caucus, because the more Republicans need those votes, and the more trouble that they'll have coming up with a deal with Democrats. So I think if the Republicans lose seats next year, the Freedom Caucus may actually get a second act from all of this, may come out even stronger.
And I think to Andrew's point, if they say, hey, listen, we held our nose and went for Romney when he wasn't one of us. We've done this a few times right now, and it hasn't paid off the way we wanted to. If we go along and get along, whether it's Bush or whether it's, even though I don't think Rubio's anything but a real conservative, but something like that instead of a firebrand, the ones that we want here, never again. I think that it'll be fascinating the next year and a half between the next election, how this shakes out and how much they're willing to go along and get along. Thank you so much. All right. By the way, quick prediction on tonight?
Mets?
Oh, there's going on a limb. All right, when we come back, we will talk about the Mets in a little bit. But first, our debate over the controversial charter school issue. Yesterday, we spoke with a critic, next, a supporter. And you can also make up your mind which side you're on after you listen to the two.